Hello and welcome to Moonlit Voyage. We are your hosts, Ali and
Olga.
We are just two people who love to dream, from common dreams to lucid dreaming and even past life experiences. We would like to share with you our personal dreams, unravel the meanings behind them, and how they can connect to our spiritual paths. In this episode, Olga shares with us how her dream gave her clarity behind the behavior between two people who she's very close with. She calls it Zombies in Amsterdam. This dream overall hits different levels of consciousness that she will be describing to us afterwards. Please, Olga, take it away.
So, like Ali said, our dreams have the potential to set us up with a lot of information. And this dream in particular, I think, gave me an interpretation, or I could understand an interpretation from both a conscious point of view as well as a superconscious point of view. So that's why I thought it was really interesting to share. So the first thing I wanted to do is just set it up, because there was a conversation that I had with some family members the day before I had this dream, which is what set the dream up, right? So a lot of times we dream about things that happen during our day. So that's the conscious coming through in your dreamscape, and just kind of a review of information. And so I was, again, at a family member's house and sharing some time with two people, and they were having some difficulty in their communication back and forth, and it was a little bit more charged than I normally would see them or interact with them. So that it felt like there were some, and you've had this happen. I think everybody has, where it's like there's something going on underneath the surface,
Like a tension.
Yeah, like there's a tension, and you don't really know
unspoken
exactly.
Elephant in the room.
Yeah, something going on. I'm not really sure what it is, but I can feel it for sure. Right? That was what I had in my waking life framework before having this dream. So I leave them. I go home, go to bed, and in the waking, like maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, like right before the sun is about to rise, I have this dream. So the dream is set up where I'm in an old building. It's an old building that has educational value, so some kind of a college or university of some sort. So I'm in a room. It has 2 huge, beautiful bay windows that I can look out, and I'm maybe 1 story up, maybe 2 stories. So I'm really close to the ground, and I can see everything really, really clearly. And there's cobblestones out there. It's like it looks really old world, right? And it reminded me of this trip that I had taken not that long ago before this dream to Amsterdam. It looked exactly like that setting, just really old world, even England. And there were a lot of people it was like a square. Mm-hmm. So this university that I was in a very popular area of the city, and there were a lot of people walking around. And I'm looking out, and then all of a sudden, everything got frantic, like people. In 1 second, they were all normally just walking around, and then all of a sudden things changed, and it was like people were screaming and running, and it was like fire. It was as if there was a fire somewhere. I mean, everybody was like scattering.
Inside the building or outside of the window?
I'm in the building, looking out the window at these people, and it's like, what the hell just happened? What is going on? And so I looked down, right, close to the building to see exactly what's going on in the street right down underneath my school, and I see these 2 dudes, and they're scaling the wall. I was like, what the fuck? They're scaling the wall, 1 for each of the windows, right? So and when they got close, I was surprised. I didn't know what was going on. It seemed like it was really frantic energy, but I wasn't scared. Like I wasn't fearful, like I wanted to leave the room or anything like that. It was just like, all right, they're coming. Like, it was that kind of thing.
Like you're getting ready to receive them.
I was gearing up to fight. Yeah. And so they are scaling the wall, and they're coming up pretty quickly, and I see that they ain't right in the face. They look like zombies. They just look like they were not. The light wasn't on.
Did they have injuries?
They didn't look like they were scarred at all. They did look like maybe a little bit. I can't even say pale, because it wasn't that kind of a thing. It was almost as if
No expression.
Right. There was no expression, and you could kind of sense that there was like a little craziness in their eyes. And no expression in terms of like, frowning or smiling or anything like that, but just like a little bit of crazy in the eyes, and you could sense that they were not all there, right? And I knew what their intent was, and that was even more than that. I could feel like they were intending to come and do me some harm. So anyway, they're scaling the walls. They approach and they get to the top of the window at about the same time. So I'm running back and forth to these two windows, right? Because I can't be in two places at one time.
Right. But what are you doing running towards
trying
the
to keep the window closed? It's like, I'm gonna stop these MFers from getting in this room.
You kept closing the windows.
Yeah, like it just. So eventually, one of them got into the room and scaled, and then as I'm, fighting that one and trying to keep him out and kick him and punch him and all that other stuff, then the other one gets in the room and he comes behind me and he starts attacking me. So I'm being attacked from both sides, with both the front and the back.
Yeah.
And I eventually knocked the shit out of the one that was in front of me. Like I literally knocked him out and
punched him
in his face to the degree that he shook his head like they boxers shake their head like they see little Tweety birds or whatever. That's that was the impression that he shook his head and he was like, oh. And then I could see him come back in his eyes. Like I could see that he was now conscious. Like whatever I punched the shit out of him and then he was himself again.
Yeah. And you knocked him into consciousness.
Right. So he became conscious. And so but while that was happening, homeboy was right behind me. He was still, right, relentlessly. He was kind of he was trying to choke me at that point. So then the brother who was in front of me, because they were twins, by the way. I don't know if I told you this, but they were twin.
No, you didn't mention that.
Sorry about that. They were twin males.
What did they look like nationality wise?
African American. They were definitely black, and they were beautiful. They were gorgeous. Wow. I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh, if they weren't zombies. And then but that's basically what they looked like. And we were all dressed for the times. I don't know if I'm sure I didn't say that before, but we were all pretty like dressed for like the 1800s. Right, so like I had on a very simple, cloak with like an apron over it, kind of situation, and
like a dress.
Yeah, definitely. I had on a dress. It was a long, full dress with like layers of. I guess I had something underneath it to make it fluff out. Yeah, like it wasn't fancy at all because it was that of like a student. So I knock out the one in front of me. He's coming to. He's starting to realize what's going on in the room, and you see that he doesn't say this to me, but I can hear or I can feel really that he's like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? What am I doing? Right? Almost like, so he wakes up to himself, and then he realizes that his brother's behind me, and he comes around and he starts to help me, but in our alliance, we both can't get him off of me. Like the brother from behind, the one that's unconscious and he's still a zombie, he was so strong. Like he was super strong, and no matter what we did, we could not get him to calm down. And so finally his brother kind of sucker punched him and got a hold of him, and we strapped him down. And then,
where did you strap him down? Were you like in a bedroom or
so it was a study slash bedroom, right? Looks like there was a bed, but it was kind of inconspicuously in the back, but in the front of the room, which was where I was when the guys arrived, that was like there was a long table and then there was some chairs. Okay. There was lots of books in this room. It was meant to be a study room.
Okay.
And there was a bed in the back.
Okay.
So we eventually got him off of me, and we strapped the brother who was still unconscious to the bed. And the brother that was conscious said to me, I know how to make him wake up. We have to bloodlet him. And I was like, what? We're going to do what? And he said, we're going to bloodlet him. So he took down his pants and made an incision from his testicles all the way up through to his belly button, right? And I was shocked. I was grossed out. I was like, oh my God. And it wasn't a lot of blood either. I mean, I guess of course, this is the dream world, right? So my perception of it was that it wasn't like a bloodbath or anything like that. It was, a very precise precision, and then also another precision down by his big toe. And between those two, we were able to drain, some blood. But then the bro started like, I don't know, conniptioning or whatever. I don't know. He started to have some kind of an attack. We didn't know what the heck was going on. I got super nervous and I was afraid that someone was going to come in and catch us doing what we were doing. And then he went still. And I was like, fuck, he's dead. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And then I went to there were two doors. I noticed there were two doors and there were two chairs sitting between the doors. And I pulled, because you couldn't lock the doors. There was no key mechanism or lock mechanism on the door. So I had to push a chair to each of the doors to block the way so that no one could come in and like catch us, walk in on us. So at that point I thought he was goner. I thought he was dead. But his brother came over and kind of was cleaning him up and like overseeing the whole process. And then the brother who had been bleeding, the unconscious one, he started to actually wake up to himself, right? The same as the other brother did, but only slower and not as like shocking with the Tweety birds. It was very, a slow opening your eyes. What just happened? Oh my God. It was like that kind of thing. So it worked. Whatever that process was supposed to be, it was, after bloodletting him. And then I was out of harm's way and in safety, and we just took care of the brother that was on the bed, and then it was over. And that was the dream.
Okay. Wow. But yet you felt compelled of helping these complete strangers.
Right. So like it wasn't even a thought in the dream, right? It was, okay, if one of them could wake up, then the other one can wake up. It was that kind of thought process, I guess. I didn't necessarily want to kill them, because the first brother waking up was so fast. It was like scuffle, 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 smack, wake up, right? It was really that quick, that it didn't feel like I had to think of any other pathways through to getting free or to getting safe. It was like, okay, if I could knock him in to consciousness, then we can figure out how to do this with the other one. And again, like everything happened so quickly, with him from behind me trying to choke me out. It didn't,
But when you were in your dream, you felt that by making these two people conscious again, you felt like that could be the good of the collective. Some reason, like, did you feel like now they can't attack or hurt others?
It didn't even go that far.
Okay.
It was my personal safety that I was mainly concerned with.
Okay.
Right? There was a lot going outside my window. There were a lot more zombies out there, and what I could deal with were the two that were in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like I can only do what I can do, right? And this is a lot, so let me focus on this and get myself to a place where I'm not going to get killed, or turned into a zombie. I don't even know what happened out there. I don't know how they turn you out of. I didn't even take it that far. But after you go into the interpretation of the dream, right? You go into all the nooks and the crannies and the whys and the hows, and so as I normally do, I sit for a minute, because this was one of those more shocking ones. My heart was beating. I woke up. I've been, it was fine, but
the adrenaline kicking.
Yeah, it was a little bit of that, right? Not fear or anything, but more like, whoa, what the heck just happened? And so I took a few minutes and I, took a few breaths, and as I normally do, I, start to go into a meditative state, and that's when it dawned on me that this dream was about these two family members from the day before. Because when I first woke up, it wasn't apparent. It was just the shock of it all, right? But after I went into meditation, I realized that it was the two family members, and then I went a little bit deeper, and after I identified the characters, because that's usually what happens when it's a dream such as this one, where you're trying to figure out the symbology behind each of the characters. And usually it's just that simple. It's just this means this and this means this. But in this dream, these were two characters specific to my real life, right? So then I understood. So then I'll give you the super conscious, because immediately it ramped up, right, in terms of my meditation and getting a glimpse of what this dream really meant for these two characters and how it relates to me. And so the way that I interpret it, so it's a school setting. So it's a setting in which there's education happening, right? Education, and you can take that in whatever way that you'd like. But for me, it was education and consciousness, because that was the theme of the dream. The dream was there were these two beings who were totally unconscious, almost rabid, and they each woke up in their own way to consciousness, right? And that the setting of it being in a school was that waking up to your consciousness is an education in and of itself, right? And the next piece of symbology was that it was in an old world setting. So it's not like it was in a modern New York City or Miami, right? It was in this old world cobblestone setting, which spoke to the age or the history of what was actually happening in the dream, the waking up of the consciousness, as well as the relationship between either me and these two characters or the two characters to each other.
Okay, wait, just go back for a second. So, what does that mean to you that it was taken in an old world setting? What does that really mean?
So, old world for me means just long time. It just means history. It means so when I have, so for instance, when I've been to either France or when I've been to Amsterdam, immediately I think of the richness of time. How many people have walked on this street? How many people have been, you know what I mean, in this area? How far can you go back into history? And this was the exact same spot that such and such and such and such happened, right? It just lends to the richness of the history.
So you're saying that the relationship between these two people in your dream and in your real life goes way back beyond the now time.
Right.
This could be souls back.
Right. So that either, so immediately I was taken to, okay, either it's that kind of history between me and them, that kind of history between the two of them to each other,
Okay.
and or the history of this education and moving into consciousness. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we have been working towards this
Old knowledge.
right, working towards evolution and awakening of consciousness for a really long time, right? So that was the three different symbols that came up from the cobblestones and being in that time frame and being dressed in that way, and right. So the next part was that these were two twins who looked exactly alike. And twos are all throughout the dream, right? So there's twins, there's two windows, there's two doors, there's two chairs, right? So two usually speaks to either partnership or duality, right?
Yeah.
Right. So although they're twins and they look exactly alike, there are two of them, right? There's not just one representation, right? So that's one. And then the second is the relationship between the two of them. They must be really close. They must be like two peas in a pod, right?
Yeah.
Literally, right? Which lends to my understanding that the two family members from the day before, if they are the people who are in this dream, then my interpretation is that they have been through many lifetimes. They are like two peas in a pod. They've done this many times together, right?
Yeah.
And then it went to a super conscious interpretation of that relationship, which is, and I, again, I don't have an explanation for how this happens. It just happens in meditation. And I knew that these were two people who were in many ways twin flames, right? And who would come to this lifetime to teach each other some things. And that one family member was meant to protect and be the first one to wake up. Right. So that it was that first brother. Right. So, and I could see that in that relationship between these two people in my life. One was meant to wake up sooner than the other in order to be able to, wake the second brother up and the way that it was going to be done was going to be by and bloodletting. And when I say that, I mean figuratively, that's bloodletting in the dream, but in real life, it is clearing the bloodline of some
bad
trauma.
Blood that's inside that needs to be released.
Right.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this correctly. So this dream touched the subconscious, right? The conscious, and then the superconscious.
Right.
The superconscious talking about soul level.
Right.
And the subconscious talking the your family members, the discussion that you had the day before.
But things that are more hidden.
Okay.
Right. And then the conscious is the things that are on the surface level.
Okay.
Right. Just clear. Yesterday you were with your family members. Today you have a dream about them.
I see. Okay. The subconscious is more like the psychological analysis of that interaction and how it affected you.
Right.
And then you saw it in a broader aspect.
And then it went to superconscious where it's like, yeah, you take it into the stratosphere.
I love it. This is great.
Yeah. So the last part, which was the bloodletting, was that the second brother was going to awaken slowly. Right. So the other family member, it was going to take some time. It was going to take some healing modality. It was going to take another approach. Right. You couldn't just you can't just this brother. You're not going to be able to just smack him into it.
Right. And who that is in your real life,
Absolutely.
in your family. You know that family
Absolutely.
number.
Absolutely. I know who's who.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so it was so impactful for me after I finished interpreting the dream in my meditation. I was like, oh my God, that is crazy. That they have had lifetimes of this going on over and over again. The only other thing that I can add here that is of any real value is that there was also trauma in this lifetime that was created, right? And so it's also, and part of it is, okay, so one was meant to be the protector and the other, right? There was some trauma that came about because that endeavor or that goal or that responsibility was not seen to have been achieved, right? And so therefore trauma ensued. So I could see where it applies to this lifetime for these two. And then, like I said, I was given this super conscious understanding that this is something that they've been
goes
doing.
way back.
It goes way back. There was an agreement for the two, between the two souls, that one would have the other's back. That in the roles that they chose, that it was agreed. I'm going to wake up first. You're going to wake up second, and you're going to have these issues because these are the things that you want to learn lessons from. But I'm going to have your back. I'm here. I'm going to support you. I'm going to play this role, and we're going to just ride this out. Gotcha? Got it. Right? It was like that kind of thing from a soul level. Right? Nothing's off limits. Nothing is wrong. Everything is right. Right? It's just a role that we're playing, because from a broader point of view, our soul is much larger than just this lifetime. Right? And we play with each other through these different roles.
Nice. And just to add here and to clarify, just in case to the audience, your family members, if I know this, they are not actual twins.
No, they're not.
They're even complete different, complete sexual orientation, right? Like there's a whole
right. Yeah. They don't share. They never shared a womb. They don't share the same sex. They They don't share much of anything that you would think of when you think of twins.
Ah,
But
okay.
from a soul level,
Yeah.
they are twins.
They're
Right?
same.
Age does not, age, sex, sexual orientation, race, none of that stuff factors in when you take it to the soul level. At the soul level, they are twins.
Wow, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's very powerful. Great. Thank you, Olga. Like always, sharing the best dreams.
Until next time.
Until next time. Sometimes our dreams can give us perspective about our relationships in a way we cannot perceive in our awakened life. We hope that you enjoyed it. We would love to hear from you, so feel free to leave your comments, questions, or suggestions below of what you would like to hear next. Click the subscribe button to our YouTube channel and receive notifications for additional thought-provoking content.